Hey everyone, let's go. Very, very interesting Parsha. I wasn't sure to do Rosh Hashanah this week or the Parsha this week. I figured Rosh Hashanah you guys know a lot about.
Rosh Hashanah.
It's a day that you could eat, but the rabbi doesn't let you eat because he doesn't stop talking.
No, you get the honey, the apple honey, the apple challah at Aroma.
Apple challah, yeah, that's right. And Torah makes the cinnamon. Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, so today we're going to speak about the 613th mitzvah of the Torah.
613.
There's got to be the last one. And the 613 mitzvah of the Torah involves something that most people don't do. Last mitzvah, no one does it. And you're wondering,
You write a Torah.
right? Exactly. Read a Torah. All right. So the question we're going to address today. Hold on, I need to get my slideshow working. Today is. Oh, that's why I cut them. Is what is more important, the individual or the group, or he says how important is the individual to the group, or do you think the group will miss you if you're not there? And this ties into the theme of the class. So all the way at the end of Parshat Vayelech, because Parshat Vayelech is really the end of the speech, because Moshe gives the whole speech, and then Hazinu next week Parsha is the testimonial we're about to learn about in a moment, and then V'zeis Bracha is the final blessing, but it's not really the reprimand or the rebuke or the encouragement that Moshe says. So here we go. Text number 1. We learn that Moshe speaks to the Jewish people, and he says, "Now this is all the way at the end of the parsha. And now write for yourselves a song and teach it to the children of Israel, and place it in their mouth." Which means don't just write it down and put it on the shelf, but teach it to them, in order that the song will be as a witness. The song is next week's parsha, Hazinu. If you remember from last year, a Hazinu is not written in the same format as the rest of the Torah. The rest of the Torah is just paragraphs. Hazinu is written as like a poem, 3 words, a space, and then 3 words. You can tell. So this song is all about the good and the bad. What's going to happen if the Jewish people reject God? It's a good testimony. In fact, I don't know if the previous Rebbe is the one that said it or he quoted it. That he said that businessmen should know Parshas Hazinu by heart. It's not a lot. It's very small. Because when you keep in mind that Hashem is the one in control, it helps you keep your head on straight, and it's a blessing for Parnasa. And now, what is this song? The song is the Torah. Look at text number 2. The Ralbag was a Levi ben Gershon. He lived in the 13th to 12th century. And he says it's clear that the song here means the entire Torah. As it says, that Moshe, when he finished writing the words in the scroll until their completion, it indicates that the song includes the entire Torah, with the song Hazinu as well. Further indication that the entire Torah is the verse. Take this Torah scroll and place it alongside the ark of the ark of the covenant of the Jewish people. Now, so the Maimonides learns from here that this is a commandment. When it says, "Now take for yourself and write down the testimony," the entire Torah is called testimony, not just Hazinu. The entire Torah is called, because Hashem commands Moshe to put the testimony next to the Ark of the Covenant. There's an argument if it's near or in the Ark of the Covenant. It's an argument. Also, like the Mun, for example, was in the Holy of Holies. Aaron's staff was in Holy. A few things were in the Holy of Holies. But the Torah is called testimony, not just the portion, next week's portion, Hazinu. So from here, Maimonides learns out there's a mitzvah of every Jew that they have to write a Sefer Torah. See, this is text number 3. Maimonides says every Jew is responsible to write a Sefer Torah. If you can't write it, so you pay someone else to do it. Wouldn't it be nice if you could pay someone else to do mitzvahs? I'm going to sleep in. I'll pay you to go to shul.
No, that doesn't work.
No, right? It doesn't go to work. So that's going to be the question. Number one, it's one of the 613 commandments, but no one does it. I'm
Well,
not talking.
there are a few people out there that do it.
A sofer is, but that's his job. But most people don't. I understand it's cost prohibitive, but if it was such a big important mitzvah, you would find, I don't know, people will be a big push. But we don't find even great people, tzaddik. I'm not talking about people don't do it because they're not religious or they're not knowledgeable. It's not like, I remember, I don't know if I told you a story, when I was building my sukkah, my old HOA, my old community. So I said, why are you doing this? I said, because it's a holiday. The Torah says it's where? I said, it's in the Torah. This holiday is in the Torah? I said, no, you're making that up. I said, no, really. No, Sukkot is tabernacles in the Torah. No, the guy didn't. He never heard of it before. He never heard of the holiday of Sukkot. He never heard of the holiday of Shavuos. Never heard of it. He heard of Passover. He heard of Hanukkah or Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. But Purim, I'm not sure. It was only the guy's. It was the guy's mother-in-law who was a religious woman who read the Bible. Oh yeah, tabernacles. Yeah, sure, right. But lulav and esrog could be expected. I mean, tefillin. I just spent close to $5,000 in many tefillin. If it is a mitzvah, you find a way to do it, right? I mean, how you do it, I don't know. You do it, So, but we don't find people doing it. And again, it's not a religious thing. Just people don't do it. Historically, even rabbis, great rabbis, says now, the Code of Jewish Law. Interesting, has a twist on this. He says the mitzvah is not to write a scroll. In the olden days, there was a written law and the oral law, right? The oral law couldn't be written.
The Mishnah.
Well, Mishnah is the foundation of the oral law, but Mishnah, Gemara, everything. Okay. So in order to learn, you needed the Torah. So Hashem is not telling you write a Torah, put it in the ark. That's not what He wants. He wants you to learn. That's what He wants. So the Code of Jewish Law says the mitzvah is actually to buy Jewish books, so you can learn. That's how the Code of Jewish Law interprets it. It's interesting. It's not everybody agrees. Some people say no. The mitzvah is to write a Torah. So how come this hasn't picked up? I know it's mitzvah 613. We're busy doing mitzvah 1 through 612. So we'll get there. So obviously you can say in the desert the Jewish people didn't do it. Oh, also in the desert the Jewish people didn't do it. You hear that's the first time they get in the commandment. Who's the only person that writes the Torah? Moshe. See text number 4. Moshe wrote the Torah for the Jewish people. So if no one else can do it, why did God ask them? Why would God ask the Jewish people? There are certain things I'm sure God asked Moses to do, but I don't know. Like, for example, we know the scandal came out afterwards when Miriam, remember this whole story, Miriam said, complained that why did Moshe separate from his wife? Remember the story? Mm-mm. No, you don't know the true Hollywood story?
No.
So when Moshe got help for, he had the 70 elders in order to show that they were important people. So God gifted them prophecy. So Moshe's wife, Tzipporah, said, "Oh no, no." Says, I feel bad for their wives. So Miriam, who was there, says, "Why are you saying that?" Says, "Because ever since Moshe became, the big knocker prophet, I don't see him. I don't see him. We were separated." So Miriam went to Aaron and said, "That's not what God wants. God wants us to live normal life. He could be a prophet and, live a regular family life." Now, what Miriam didn't know was God specifically told Moshe to separate. Because in order to be a prophet, you have to be pure. And intimacy between a man and a woman causes a temporary impurity. And so when you're a prophet, you kind of have to prepare yourself in order for God to speak to you. But when you're Moses, you're in a constant state of preparation. You never knew God was going to speak to him, so you always had to be separated. So there were certain, that could be one of many, but that one we know because it came up in the scandal with Miriam. So if God only wanted Moshe to do it, then I don't know, tell Moshe. But God puts it in the Torah, that means He wants us to do it. So why would God tell us to do something that no one does, or it's impossible to do? First days? So far, so good? Okay. If you have any questions, speak now or ever hold your peace, because
Better be careful, I might come up with one.
No, you already used your bad jokes. All right, so the.
Oh no, there's plenty more.
I know.
I'm halfway through the book.
Oh boy. So the answer is going to be it's going to lie in the concept. The Torah doesn't belong to any one person. The Torah belongs to everybody. So when you read a Torah, every community needs a Torah. Therefore, according to halacha, and this was in the time that the rabbis had governmental powers. Are you familiar with that? That the governments in Europe allowed the rabbis to police the Jewish communities? Yeah, they couldn't. Taxes, you have to pay. As long as you collect taxes, collect taxes. They could, burial, marriage, even lashes. In Amsterdam, you can go to the synagogue complex in Amsterdam, and they have a lashing room. Yeah.
A lash room?
Yes. Okay, do me a favor. Don't take a nap. I'd rather when you're tired and more drowsy. So the community can force people. They can garnish their wages. You live in the shtetl. Everybody knows how much money you make. It's not a secret. Like you have your money. In the olden days, there was no offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Everybody knew. Not only that, in the olden days, when they came to ask for tzedakah, they'd say, "Can you give $180?" It's like, you're giving $180 because we know you have it. It was a little bit different back then. But anyway, that's tzedakah. But here, there's certain things the community needs, and they can go into your bank account, so to speak. I take it, and it says text number 5. It says they can force a person. The door is open, huh? Yeah. They can go. Hey, so they can compel a person to build a synagogue, to give money to purchase a Torah, and along with other things. So why? Because everyone needs it. So you need it, and you need it, and you need it, and everyone else needs it. So you see, Rabbi. So look at text number 6. He explains. He says like this. So when the Torah says, "Write for you a Torah," that means when you get in the Liyasa, for example, when you're reading from the Torah, that's your part. But it's everyone's point. It's everyone's part. So this is how he answers the question. Everyone has to write a Torah, but the Torah only works if the entire Torah is there. So when you write your part of the Torah, then you're fulfilling the mitzvah because you're helping the Torah to be there. He says, I would suggest that when the community or any group commissions the Torah, it says, write for yourself, writing the scroll and then reading it from legitimate form, carrying out the mitzvah. This is a clear solution in my mind to justify the long-standing tradition by commissioning the Torah scroll. They fulfill. They said they fulfill the mitzvah, right? So when everyone reads it. So now some people come with a question. Yeah, that's true, but no one takes the Torah. There's not the Stanley Cup, where you take the cup home with you, right? The Torah scroll remains in the ark. Everyone uses it, but who does it belong to? By the way, I'll tell you. I know this sounds crazy because you're talking about a Torah scroll, a holy object, but there have been many fights, arguments, debates, discussions. However, some were closer to the one end that a person, has a Torah commissioned, and then where are you going to put it? You put it in the shul. And then the people moved away, and they want to take the Torah with them, and the shul goes, no, you donated it to the shul, it belongs to the community. I said, no, it's my Torah. I just put it here. Who does the Torah belong to? Right? That's because there have been many, many, many debates about this. Now, people are very careful to have a contract. The Torah is here only as long as I'm here. If I decide to move the shul, yeah. My father's Torah, the same thing happened. With my father's Torah, it was in a shul, but here it wasn't the shul that was giving the problem. It was his brothers that were giving the problem because the cover on the Torah was a memory. It put a memory of my grandfather. Well, he changed it because when the Torah was written, my grandfather was alive. Then over the years, it got worn out. So when they made a new cover, in memory of my grandparents. So everyone called it Zaidi Sefer Torah. So in their mind, and I know my grandfather participated, but my father's the one that paid for 98% or something, right? Or 95%. So the rabbi said, it doesn't make a difference what it's called, it makes a difference who paid. My father produced a receipt. It's like you think with Torahs, these things get get tactical. So it doesn't belong. So if you give a Torah to the shul, it belongs to the shul. It doesn't belong to you. You can't go take it whatever you want, right? You can't take. Imagine there's 50 people come to shul, and that means 365 days. I can take the Torah home. 2 days, whatever it is.
You take it home 3 days of the week,
Yeah.
3 days of the year.
Yeah. So the Rebbe gets into this. You can sit down, by the way. The Rebbe, I'll make it fast. So the Rebbe gets into this, and he says, and he gets into the relationship between individual and community, how they're interdependent, and he brings a very interesting idea. These days, everyone buys their own lulav and esrog.
Everyone?
You guys didn't order one?
Yeah, we
You
did.
Of course I did. You already charged me for it.
No, I did not.
You didn't?
I did not. That I didn't.
Oh,
do.
the $80 was for the meal.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
the
yeah,
and the
that-
other money was for the sugar, $47.
Okay.
So because now it's available and we have air travel and everything else, and which is good because the Torah says, you see in text number 7, Torah says, you should take for yourself on the first day a beautiful branch, and the text is on the screen, and everything. But what happens if a person doesn't have a lulav and esrog?
He borrows one.
You can't borrow.
No?
No, because it has to be yours. It says you should take for yourself. Or what happens? I'll give you an example that lasted for centuries, maybe millennia. What happens if the community can't get one, or can only get one? Many times there were times the communities didn't have a lulav and esrog, or they could only have one.
They sell it to each other?
So the halacha is you give it to the person as a present. It's a present on the condition that they return it. It's a conditional gift. So the gift is they own it, but they can't keep it because it was the ownership was based on the condition. That's how it works.
But when she borrows mine,
No, husband and wife don't have a halacha of different people.
so we're considered
One
a
person.
unit.
You're considered one person. That's why she lights Shabbos candles and you don't have to light Shabbos candles.
I always participate by wishing her a good Shabbos and saying Amen.
Very good. Same with that, but that's the halacha, right? So for example, Menorah, a woman's obligated. Menorah, Megillah, all the things that women are equally as obligated. The husband and wife, they're considered one unit, one person.
So how come you charge me twice for the meal?
I'm not gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you. This is a business. Hey, you guys, I didn't think you guys were making it.
We didn't think we were making it.
Yeah.
Fell asleep.
There you go. It's a throw under the bus. There you go. We're just talking about husband and wife being one unit, and you guys come in and yeah, there
Is
you
it
go.
raining out there?
No, blowing like.
So-
It looks like you got a little business there.
So
No, I was eating.
in your sleep, anyway. So the
If I'd have known you were going to wear that shirt tonight, I would have worn mine.
anyway.
Right.
So the Rebbe says, so in the communities, there are a lot of stories in the Russian, Polish, Ukrainian communities where they couldn't get a lulav and esrog. They could only get so the Rebbe says like this. Oh, this is based actually on the Rashbam. The Rashbam talks about. He sees this guy. He lived, here. He lived in the 11th century, 10th century. He says it's the custom of every community to get one esrog, because again, we don't realize how much plenty we have. I mean, you guys older than I am, you guys do. I'm saying, but people today don't realize that you take it, you throw it out. But in the olden days, people got one esrog. So how does that work? So when you buy for the community, it's understood that everybody is automatically gifting their part over to the other person. So when a person in the community used their esrog, the person gifted it to him. And you see over here, Rabbi Yosef Karo. It's interesting. Rabbi Yosef Karo it writes this, and Rabbi Yosef Karo lived in the Mediterranean. I have some almond milk in the. You want coffee? Rabbi Yosef Karo lived in Tzvat, and in the Mediterranean area, there's no problem of getting an esrog.
They're all over the place.
Right?
They grow there.
Yeah, they grow in that region. So it's interesting. He's writing this. You see text number 9. Yosef Karo writes. He says, the prevalent custom today is the situation with the Armenia is regularly available. The community buys one. The logic is that as much as the community wishes to fulfill the obligation with this, it's as if they clearly stipulate every member conditionally grants their private ownership to anyone who wishes to fulfill the mitzvah. So the Rebbe says the same things with the Torah scroll. Same thing is, just like everybody gifts their part, so to speak, to the person using the esrog, so too when everybody sort of gifts their part to you to have the Torah. Now, there are some people that don't like this logic. Why? Because the lulav of an esrog, it's in my hand. I use it for 30 seconds. It's one of the easiest mitzvahs to do. Make a blessing, give it a shake, right? So there's a very distinct beginning and end. Here with the Torah, there is when does a person make it yours? So one of the answers given is that when a person gets called up for an aliyah and they make the blessing, so to speak, it's their Torah, and also you can't take out the Torah unless the community is present. You're not allowed to take out a Torah for no reason. You can't just take out a Torah. It's disrespectful. I was
not even to practice Haggadah.
No, it's not a good reason to take out the Torah. You have to if you take out the Torah, you have to read from it.
As what?
You have to read from it. Now you could read from the Torah. There's a whole discussion, by the way, debate now amongst modern. It's not even modern anymore. It's already a couple hundred years old. But we've been around for 3,000, so a couple hundred is modern. In the olden days, they would take out the Torah to read. I bet in the olden days there was a Torah they had in the scroll, and then this is before printing press. Then they had written scrolls, but divided into 5. Now that we have the printing press, and you could learn the Torah from a book, a chumash, are you allowed to take out the Torah to read from it, or is it considered disrespectful? You're taking it out, you're learning, but really, this is a debate.
That's a good question.
Yeah, what do you think?
So my question to you, though, is that what you see in print in that book is that, without vowels, without the...
Oh yeah, you're saying. Let's say you know how to read without vowels.
Okay.
Yeah, the vowels and the notes don't.
And the notes don't know.
So, but meaning if you take out the Torah less often, it becomes a big deal. If you take it out, willy nilly, but even if you learn from it. I was listening. I heard a guy saying, "Ask." Today by Minyan, someone said, "How come some communities they point when they do Hagbah? Some people point,
Yeah.
and some Chabad, for example, we don't point.
What are they pointing at?
Pointing to the Torah.
They're just pointing at it.
No, because we say V'zot HaTorah, and this is the Torah. So you're pointing to the Torah. So why you point is very simple. The reason why Chabad doesn't point, and I think most people do. The reason why Chabad doesn't point is because the Torah represents Hashem's wisdom, and you can't point. It's disrespectful.
Correct, that's what I was going to say. In Spanish, they taught us not to point. That's
Okay, so
bad manners.
I'm saying so. There are different customs. So the idea is, being that we don't take out the Torah all the time, so when we take out the Torah, and you need the community to take out the Torah. And by the way, just a little history lesson from Chabad Pembroke Pines. In the beginning, when we were in the townhouse, way back before we got the show.
Oh,
So
you mean over there.
Over there, we started out in the townhouse. So every Shabbos we would get 8 or 9. We could not get a 10. It was months like this. We couldn't get a 10th. And I almost felt like a failure. You know, everyone's coming, no minyan. I mean, I didn't know people weren't coming for me. They were coming for Cyril's Cholent. But in my, younger years, immaturity, I thought, yeah. Anyway, so I heard.
I went to see the kids.
See the kids, right?
So if one of
So I heard.
If one of those little lizards walked into the shul, you couldn't count him as the 10th.
No. I made a 10th lizard, but not that. So then I was listening to a class, and a rabbi was giving a class, and he said, according to the law, you could take out the Torah and read from the Torah. You can't call people up. He said, but he was talking to small community rabbis, and he said, if you want to make your people feel better, and take out the Torah and read from it, without calling people up, that's the way people get the feeling they're read from the Torah. I think we did it once. I said, nah, I'm not doing it again. Because then it gets cheap. I want people to know, oh, we're taking out the Torah. And soon afterwards, by the way, we started getting rid. Yeah. We found the Jewish neighbor. It was the worst thing he introduced himself to me, because every time I needed a 10. biggest mistake he ever made. That's how, by the way, Mati started coming to shul. You know that? It was Simchas Torah. It was in the shul, in the storefront. It was Simchas Torah. And I was dragging things out, and my wife says, you better hurry up, the minyan's going to leave. And I didn't listen. Because, no, of course no one's going to leave. The minyan left. And we couldn't read the Torah, we couldn't daven Musaf. So I walked to Mati's house. He used to live in my development. And he came. And ever since then, he started coming. Anyway, so when you take out the Torah with the whole community, and the person gets called up, so there's there's an ownership. So when you get an aliyah, it's not just something small. It's something very big. And so according to the opinion, that fulfills what it says, right for yourself. Because at that time you're, so to speak, owning the Torah. So now we can understand. It's a very interesting medrash. You want to take it literally, not literally. I'm not fighting with you. Too late.
I didn't say.
Wait till I say. You'll understand.
2 more minutes after.
All right.
My husband told us.
All right. So what happened was is that at the end of Moshe's life, he finished the Torah, and he gave it to the tribe of Levi, because the tribe of Levi were considered the teachers of the Jewish people. The other 11 tribes come to him and say, "What? We're not Jewish? What? Only the Levites stood around Mount Sinai? What about us?" So you see, it says here that, where are we? Went too far. Oh man, sometimes it's better to have a mouse. And he says like this: he said at the end of Moshe's life, Moshe wrote. He wrote 13 scrolls. Now, again, I'm not fighting how that's possible, but that's what it says. And he didn't write one for each Jew. He wrote one, so to speak, for each tribe. So it belonged to the community. It belonged to each person. So you see, the genius from. The genius from the Rogachev Goyim. Rogachev Goyim was the genius from Rogachev. Meir Simcha of Dvinsk. He, by the way, he's the one that gave the Rebbe smicha. He gave the Rebbe rabbinical ordination. And he says, the plain reading of the verse virtually shouts that immediately that God's command to transcribe the song and teach it to the children. Moses immediately carried it out. So we see from here that by writing the 13 Torah scrolls, Moshe carried out the mitzvah. It says now, our sages derive from this verse that every individual must write a Torah, but because he gave it to each tribe, almost over. Because he gave it to each tribe, that fulfilled the personal obligation. So now we can understand, though, what the Rebbe had 10 mitzvahs. See, there's 10 campaigns. I don't know if you ever pay attention when you walk in to those pamphlets over there. They're not just random mitzvahs, right there in the black. So what are those? Are the 10 campaigns that the Rebbe had. The Rebbe pushed. The Rebbe started in 1980, I think it was. The Rebbe got up and said that children represent the Jewish people, and children are very good at getting together, but we're going to stress it even more. How are we going to do that? By everybody getting lettered in the Sefer Torah. Because halacha, the law is, if one letter, the Torah is no good, The entire Torah is no good. So when you commission, I came up with this idea. You buy a letter. There are 304, 806,000 letters in the Torah. So when you buy a letter, the whole Torah belongs to you, because without your letter, Torah is not kosher. And this was called the Children's Sefer Torah. By the way, they're on the 8th Children's Sefer Torah. Started in 1980. It takes a while, So and then also he started pushing adults to do it. It was very important that everyone have a letter in Sefer Torah. So it's the wind. And Halloween's coming, so the doors are opening. Spooky.
Spooky day, that's what I call it.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're gonna ask a question. I forgot to put English. Now we're gonna ask a question. Why did the Rebbe decide now that everyone should get a letter in Sefer Torah? For so many years, everybody was okay. Why now? So it's because now we're getting closer to the end. Now we're getting closer to Mashiach. And we mentioned before, this mitzvah is the last mitzvah in the Torah. The whole purpose of the Torah is to make the world a godly place. So being that this is the last mitzvah of the Torah, and we're getting closer to Mashiach, you ever heard of the Ben Ish Chai? It's a shame we don't have more Sephardim at this class, because we're quoting a bunch of Sephardic rabbis tonight. The Ben Ish Chai was a rabbi in Baghdad. It's from 1834 to 1909. I know you think Baghdad, you don't think friendly to Jews, but Baghdad had a Jewish community for 2,500 years. From the middle of the first temple until 1953, 54. So he writes in text number 12, he says like this. He says, in the liturgy of Shabbos and Festival Musaf, we say, I have redeemed you at the end as in the beginning. This means that the future redemption will come by carrying out the final mitzvah, which is to write a Torah scroll. And as well as the first mitzvah to have children, everything is connected. Because it says in the Medrash that Ein Ben David Ba, Mashiach's not coming until all the Jewish souls have experienced a journey into this world. And this is what the Rebbe continues in text number 13, and he says, the mitzvah, the final mitzvah, the Torah, is the conclusion of the 613 mitzvahs. So when every Yid has their own personal letter in the Torah, we're going to speedily bring about the redemption. And what's the most important thing about the Jewish people? Achdus. Achdus means unity. Achdus means togetherness. And there's no mitzvah. I mean, Sukkah also represents unity. Lulav also represents unity. That's true. But the Torah really, really represents unity, because without one letter, like we said, it doesn't make a difference which part of the Torah you're from. And the Rebbe has a very, very long text number 14. He said every mitzvah achieves unity amongst the Jewish people, but there's something special, superior about the unity of the Jewish people. So because he says in this week's Torah portion, he says something interesting. He said, Moshe says to the Jewish people, you're all standing here together. And he says, from the heads of your tribes to the water carriers and the wood choppers. How could these people be together? They're polar opposites. But the Rebbe answers. Here's the answer on the screen. The answer is that only the infinite Torah that has the power to unite all the Jewish people. It's the Torah that unites us. No matter what you call yourself, a Sephardi, Ashkenazi, this, that, whatever you call yourself, it says this helps us to understand how great is the unity achieved through a tangible action. Many practical mitzvahs that achieve the same result, but it is a unique quality of unity that achieved through every Jew purchasing a letter. I'll end off with the story. So there was the previous Rebbe sent Shmuel Witten in the 40s to Chicago. And when he was in Chicago, he told me, when you go to Chicago, I want you to go see this rich guy, this big famous guy. His name is Mr. Littman. This Mr. Littman, he came from a Hasidic family. So there was a Chabad rabbi in Chicago. His name was Rabbi Weinberg. They got off the train, and Rabbi Levittin, Shmuel Levittin tells Rabbi Weinberg, the previous Rebbe's instructions, and they arrange a meeting. And in the meeting, the Mr. Littman's very, very impressed. He's very impressed that that the Frierdiker Rebbe sent him. So he pulls out his checkbook. He says, okay, so how much does the rabbi want from me? So Levitin says, Rabbi doesn't want any money from you. So what do you mean? So he says, the Rebbe sent me here to talk to you. And even if you give me a check, I'm not taking it. So why would the soul rabbi send you all the way here? He says, let me explain to you. He says, this Shmuel Levitin's telling Mrs. Levin. In the olden days, the big cities had a sofer, a scribe, but the smaller towns didn't have a sofer. So what happens when your mezuzah or something was no good? You had to wait. The sefer in Russia, these roaming rabbis, traveling rabbis, and Moyel, Sheikhet, they traveled around from the Jewish community. So they would go, they would patch it up. So he's saying same thing is over here. You have Jews that are strong. Jews because of whatever reason they're fading a little bit. My job is to come and patch you up. That's it. He was very impressed. He came back to the previous Rebbe. He told him the conversation. He says, I just want to correct you one thing. The difference is by a Torah scroll, the ink and the parchment are two distinct things. It says a Jew, his soul is it's just like the letters are cut into the stone. So the Judaism is one with the Jew. It's cut out. Now sometimes it could get filled with schmutz, dirt and dust. So what do you got to clean it out. But it's a very distinct difference because you don't make the Jew. He is a Jew, and there's no more Jewish thing you can do than participating in the Torah. So if you haven't done it, I'll send out the link, and that'd be a great mitzvah to do before Rosh Hashanah. Have a ksiv v'chsev teva, a good gebench year. We surely have a lot of blessing. You.